Hey there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path, and this is your Must Know Monday for Monday, March 2nd, 2020. I hope you're having a great Monday so far. Today, I'm going to teach you how to make the Interstellar pendant. Now, this is going to go with the bracelet from last week and the ring from the following week. We're going to be using a lot of the same materials that we've used in the last 2 weeks. So you're going to need 24 6mm pearls, 8 4mm pearls, 24 3mm pearls, 4 4mm bicones, a 14mm Rivoli, about 2 to 2.5 grams of a size 11 seed bead, and just like last week, the Miyuki Seed Beads will work best, but you can use Toho's as well. You're also going to need about 2.5 yards of a 6-pound fire line and a size 12 or 10 beading needle. Now, I know I'm going to get some questions about the fire line. You can use like 1G or Hannah thread or any of the other threads. The only problem is by doing that, it's going to be a little bit loosey-goosey and not as stiff as far as the pendant that we want. So that's why I said use the 6-pound fire line. Also, I've had some questions the last 2 weeks if you could use an 8mm chaton in place of the flatbacks. And yes, you can use chatons in place of the flatbacks. And I don't remember if I said that you need 4 of those flatbacks. I hope I did, but if I didn't, you also need 4 of those. I've also had somebody tell me that they used a 10 or 12 Rivoli, but they did not know what size, to be honest with you. But they said that instead of putting 6 beads on each side of the pearls, they put 8 beads. So for those of you who don't really understand what that means, you can go back to last week's video to kind of see what I mean about putting those 8 seed beads versus 6 seed beads. So I'm going to show you actually 2 kind of ways to get started today. The first way will actually be showing you how to put the center in and then work outwards. The other way will be kind of how to work outward and then put the center in. Either way is going to work. I wrote the pattern where we work from the center and outward. But like I said, either way is going to work. It's just going to be what you think you might feel more comfortable with. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here's the pendant that I want to show you how to make today. This is the iridescent blue version of the pendant that I showed you the bracelet and the ring from last week. And then this is the luminous green, or I'm sorry, the scarabus green that I showed you samples of the bracelet and ring the last 2 weeks. So for the video today, I'm going to be showing you the pink version and the brown version. And as you can see, I have my 11s, my 3mm, my 4mm, my 6mm. These are elderberry Swarovski pearls. I'm using a 14mm rose Rivoli, 4 rose SS34 flatbacks, and 4, I think this is the rose double AB 4mm bicones. I've got my needle threaded with my 2.5 yards of thread. So to get started, I'm going to pick up 8 beads. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So I'm going to be picking up these 8 beads here. 1, 2, 3. The holes in these Swarovski pearls sometimes can be a little bit harder to see, so sometimes it takes me a little longer to do this color. Alright, so I have all 8 beads. Now, I'm not going to go through all 8 beads again. We need all the whole size that we can get on this piece. So I'm going to pull it down and leave myself just a little bit of a tail thread here. And then I'm going to tie the 2 threads together. Okay, so you want a nice solid ring here. Now I'm going to go through one bead next to my knot. It doesn't matter if I go to the left or if I go to the right, but whichever way you start, you have to continue in that direction. So I'm coming out of one bead and I'm going to pick up 6 11s. So 3 and 6. I'm going to come back through the same bead that I'm coming out of so that it makes a circle here. And I want my beads to kind of lay on top, just like that. Now I'm going to continue through the next 2 pearls in my circle. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick up 6 size 11 seed beads. And I'm going to come back through the same bead that I'm coming out of to make that circle. Then I'm going to continue through 2. And so if you haven't guessed it yet, I'm going to be doing this twice more. So I'm going to pick up 6. I'm going to come back through the same bead that I'm coming out of to make that circle. Go through 2 more. And I've got to do this one more time here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm going to come back through the same bead again to make that circle. So now I have 4 arches of seed beads. So I'm just going to continue on through 2 pearls so that I'm coming out of the first pearl that I started with. Now we want to do what's called a step up. And to step up, we're going to come through the first 4 beads we added here of our set of 6. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like that. Now, I like to work, I guess, counterclockwise when I'm making these pieces. So instead of working clockwise, I'm just going to flip it over so I can work counterclockwise. It's no biggie. At this point, you know, you can kind of fudge a little bit of everything, but you can't too much after this. Okay, so I'm coming out of 4 of those beads. I'm going to pick up 2 of my 3mm pearls. I'm going to jump over here to the next arch, and I'm going to go through the middle 2 beads of that arch of 6. Now I'm not going to pull that tight. I'm only going to pull it just enough to kind of pop those beads up like that. Okay, do it again. 2 3mm. I'm going to come to this next arch of 6, and I'm going to go through just those middle 2 beads of that arch of 6. Pick up 2 3mm. I'm coming to this next arch of 6 here. I'm going to go through those middle 2 beads of the arch of 6. And then I'm going to do this one more time. So pick up my 2. And come across to this first arch that I started with. And I'm only going through the middle 2 beads there. Now this is where our Rivoli is going to come into play. I'm going to set the Rivoli down in the encasement face up so that I can see the pretty pink color. And then I'm going to pull that thread tight. And right now it's not evenly distributed, but I'm going to go through all the beads again on this top row, and I'm going to reinforce it and pull everything together. So I'm just going to go through the 2 3s. And remember, it sounds so elementary, but always go pull your thread the direction that it's coming out of the beads, because if I take and I pull the thread this way, where it's opposite, I am pulling everything apart. So make sure to always pull it the way that the thread is coming out of the bead. So I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this really quickly, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I've gone through and I have reinforced that center circle of beads, and now my thread is exiting here. Let me see if I can get it to kind of zoom in there. There we go. My thread is exiting a 6 millimeter that is right under a set of 3 millimeters. So if you see here on the top, I have 4 sets of 3s. So my needle is coming out of a 6 millimeter right under that. So for my example, it's coming out here to the right. Now, since I'm coming out of that bead, I'm now going to pick up 3 of my 6 millimeters. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, my thread is currently coming out to the right here. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come back through that very same 6 millimeter again, so that it makes a circle or a right angle weave box of beads. You know, and it's requisite to get the thread caught on everything as you work. Alright, so you can see now I have a little right angle weave box formed off of my center circle. Just like last week's video, I suggest that you go ahead and reinforce your box of beads again, just because it will hold everything nice for you as you are trying to work. If you don't do this step as you're adding your set of 6 11s over the pearls, your piece could pull apart and it would just be a pain to deal with. So I have gone all the way around reinforcing my box, and now I'm going to pick up 6. Bless my poor little needle's heart. I'm going to have to switch out my needle for a 10. I am so rough on these little 12s. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And okay, so thread is coming out to the right, or if I turn it this way, to the bottom of this 6 millimeter. So I'm going to come through that bead again to make a loop of beads over that 6 millimeter. Boom. Okay, I'm going to come through the next 6 millimeter. I'm going to do it again. And so I'm going to put my 6 here, my 6 here, and my 6 here. So I've gone all the way around adding my sets of 6. And I'm coming out of the first pearl here that I started my little right angle weave box. Now I'm going to step up by going up through the first 4 seed beads of my set of 6. So you can see there I'm going through 4 of them. So this is put together, this part is put together just like the ring and the bracelet from last week. We're going to pick up a 3 millimeter pearl, and we're going to come through the middle 2 11s here on this side. And I'm leaving it loose. I'm not going to pull it tight yet. Okay, 1 3 millimeter. And I'm going to come through the middle 2 11s here on this next arch. 1 3 millimeter, come through the 2 middle 11s on the next arch, and then we've got 1 more 3 millimeter to add. We add 3 per little right angle weave box. So I pick up 1, and again I'm going to go through the middle 2 of this first arch here. Now again, I've left it loose because now we want to take one of our flat back crystals. You can see it's completely foiled on the back, domed on the top. I'm going to drop it down into my encasement face up. and then I'm going to pull the thread tight to cinch up those beads and encase that little flat back. Now I'm going to go through all these beads again, just reinforcing those beads. So I've gone through and I have reinforced again, and I've stitched down through my beads to come out of the 6mm bead here that I started the little right angle weave box with. Now I'm going to continue on through the next 2 pearls, so this one and this one, so that I'm coming out right under that next little pearl where it's right under those 3mm beads. Okay, so I'll pull that through. So now my thread's coming out of this bead, and again you can see that it's right under a set of 3s. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repeat all the steps again to add a little right angle weave box here, here, and here. So we want 4 total of these right angle weave boxes. Alright, so as you can see, I have completed my 4 boxes of right angle weave and done the embellishment for each box. You can see here on the back how all 4 of them are laying. Now, you want to exit any one of these end 6mm. It does not matter which one. I honestly just came out of the one of the last box that I was working on. So at this point, we're going to pick up 2 11s, a 4mm, a 6mm, a 4mm, and 2 11s. And you are going to take your thread and you're going to come across to this next 6mm, and I'm going to go through the outer bead of my next little right angle weave box. So it's going to make a little arc of beads. So we have to do that 3 more times. So that was a 2 of the 11s, a 4mm, a 6mm, a 4mm, and 2 11s. And again, I'm going to come across over here to the next 6mm, to make my next arc of beads there. So I'm going to do this 2 more times to finish out the little arcs. So once you've gone all the way around, this is what your piece should look like. Now, you want to go through and you want to reinforce all the beads again on this outer circle. Here's the thing, when you pull the thread really tight, your piece this outer edge may want to kind of dome up. Make sure to keep it pushed flat. We don't want this to dome whatsoever. We want it to stay flat. At this point, your piece is still a little bit flimsy. Don't worry, I promise what we're going to do near the last step is going to pull everything together. So I'm coming out of a 6mm pearl that I added here in this round. So it's the pearl right between my 4mm. I'm going to pick up 3 11s, a 4mm, and 2 11s. So it's 3, 1, and 2. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come to the 6mm right or adjacent to the one that I'm coming out of. Now here's the thing. You may have to kind of wiggle through to get through the 6mm. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about this when I show you the alternate. So right now my beads are kind of stuck back here because I had to go from the back, but it's okay, I just popped them right up. So now you can see the beads made a diagonal. So now I'm going to pick up 2 11s and I'm going to come back up through the 4mm that I just added. I'm going to hold it in place and I'm gonna pull the thread straight up the way it's coming out of my beads. Now I'm gonna pick up 3 11s, and you can see here I have my beads on this side of the pearl, so I'm gonna come right back through the same pearl so that when I pull that thread, it now centers that crystal over the hole that we had. You can see the holes there, there, and there, and now we've got that covered up. So I'm just going to simply stitch through the beads here to come out of the next 6 millimeter in between 2 4s. This is one that I added in the previous step. And then I'm going to add this same embellishment over these 3 spaces. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone all the way around putting my embellishments in. This is the back and this is the front. So this is the last embellishment that I did, and I stitched around to the next embellishment. So this was the very first embellishment that I added. I'm coming out of the 6 millimeter pearl here right below it, and I'm going to pick up 7 11s. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to come right through the same pearl again to make a circle. So when I come back up through it, you can see now that these beads lay on the outside, and that's exactly what I want them to do. So I'm going to continue through to the next 6 millimeter, and I'm going to do it again. 7 11s, 3 4 5 6 7, and I'm going to come right back up through the same bead again, and then I'm going to do this 2 more times. I'm going to do it here, and I'm going to do it over here. Okay, so I'm going to flip it on the back here so that you can see all the 4 corners now have seed beads around them. So this was my last corner that I did, or no, I'm sorry, this one was, and I come up through my beads. So now I have stepped up by coming through 4 of the 7 of this very first arch. Now I'm obsessed with these little oval jump rings right now. I don't know why. You don't have to put one of these on there. It can be anything. It's just, this is what I had here at my desk, and I'm going to put on. I'm going to make a little loop for the top. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6 11s, and a little jump ring. I'm going to come back through the same bead here that I'm coming out of to make a circle. So just that center bead of the set of 7, so that when I pull it, now I have my loop there for the hanger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to reinforce this several times, and then I'm going to reinforce this little ring of beads here, so that when it's nice and tight, that's what the hanger part will look like there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do these reinforcements, and then I'll be right with you. So I have gone through and I've done several reinforcements of the loop and my set of 7. Now the piece is still kind of a little bit floppy, like I can move everything at this point. So now we're going to do one last step to pull everything together and make it a really stiff pendant. So basically what we want to do, and I'm going to see if I can, there we go. We want to stitch through the beads to come out of a set of 2 seed beads between 2 3 millimeters here closest to the piece. So I need to come out of these, or these, or these. And it's one of those things, I have people stress about this, and don't stress about it. We are going to stitch through the beads. It doesn't matter how you get there as long as you do not see the thread. So I'm going to, from where I'm at, I'm going to go through my 3 seed beads here of the embellishment. I'm going to go through the crystal, through the 2 seed beads right under the crystal. Then I'm going to stick my needle down through the encasement, just because I found that it's easier for me to be able to get through that pearl from the bottom. But I'm gonna go through the pearl right under the embellishment. Then I'm gonna go through the very next pearl that's right there, right below where I need to come out. Then I'm going to come up through the 2 11s. Come on, sweet little needle. There we go. And then through my 2 11s. And I think at this point, it's pretty tight through these beads, so I'm going to switch to a size 12 needle real quick because my seed bead hole there is kind of tight and I don't want to bust it. Okay, got my needle changed here, so now I'm coming out of the 2 11s right here between my 3 millimeters closest to my little center encasement. This is what's going to stiffen everything up, okay? I'm going to pick up 2 11s. And you can see here, if I bring the thread at a diagonal, you can see that right across from it here in the center, right adjacent to it is 2 3 millimeters. But if I come right here, you see I've got my 2 11s here in the center. So I'm going to go through those 2 size 11 seed beads and I'm going to pull that thread tight. Then I'm going to pick up 2 11s. I'm going to come to the next set of 2 seed beads here between the 3 millimeters. And I'm going to go through those and I'm going to pull the threads tight. Then I'm going to pick up 2 11s. I'm going to come to this next little set of 2 here and go through those. Two 11s, go through the middle 2 11s between those 3 millimeters. Okay, and you can see what it's starting to do. It's starting to make like an up, down, up, down. 2 11s, and I'm going to come through these middle 2 11s here. 2 11s. Come through the middle 2 between the 3s. Two 11s. Come through my last set of 2 11s here in the middle. And then I've got to do 2 11s, and I think I'm going to have to get me some more seed beads. Nope, there we go. And then I'm going to go through my middle 2 11s here between these crystals. And now you can see that that has pulled everything together. I have a nice stiff pendant now that will be beautiful to wear. So now we just have to tie off the thread. You can go back through these middle beads again if you want to reinforce them. It does not matter. You're not going to hurt anything by reinforcing it. And so to reinforce it, we're just going to go through the beads, not adding anything. Sometimes though it might be way too tight and you can't, so it just kind of depends. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a 1/2 hitch knot. So I'm going to go under the thread here between my 11s, leave myself a little loop, and I'm going to pull the needle through the loop. And when you pull it, make sure it goes in between the 2 seed beads there that you wanted it to go through. Now I'm going to go through these 2 here in the middle. Now I'm going to go under the thread there between my 11s. Sometimes you might have to maneuver around it because it's going to be tight spaces where you're at there. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull that through a few more beads, and then I'll trim this thread off and I have a beautiful new pendant. Okay, so this is, and you can see it's pretty flat and nice and straight, and uses all those pink little mulberry colors. So now I want to show you how to start it a little bit differently. Okay, so as a very, very tight stitcher, I have personally found on this pendant, if I do this pendant exactly how I just showed you, sometimes the pendant wants to really dome up and I have a hard time keeping it flat like I want it to. So this, what I'm going to show you now, is another way to start your piece. And I found for me personally, as a very tight stitcher, this actually helps it lay a little bit better. If you're a loose stitcher, you have nothing to worry about, but if you're a super tight stitcher, this may be for you. Now also, I did want to note that the very last step that we just did on the finished pendant was putting in those little sets of 2 seed beads there around the center. So I thought I was going to be really smart after I made a couple of samples. I thought I was going to be smart and try to put those sets of 2 seed beads in after I had made my little boxes of 4. So that way the center was completely finished. What I found when I did that was that when I went around and made the outer part of the pendant and I went to put those little embellishments on with the 4mm Bicones, it was impossible to get the needle through the center pearls that I needed to get it through. I tried different techniques, I tried different size needles, I tried everything. So it's best to leave that 2 seed bead addition there in the center. Leave that to the very last step, because like I said, it will pull everything together, whether you start it like I showed you previously or whether you start it like I'm showing you now. So let's go ahead and let me show you this one. This one I'm going to be using the velvet brown Swarovski pearls with chocolate seed beads. Alright, so here is another alternate way to start your piece. So you would start with your 8 beads in your ring, just like we did in the beginning, but instead of putting in the Rivoli first, you will build your 4 boxes first. This makes it a little bit easier not to have to worry about getting your placement so much right for these. And like I said, to me it just helps it's not to dome as much when I am getting ready to work on it. So I just finished the 4th box here, and I'm going to come through the next bead here in this center circle. So it's the very, very next bead. Now this is where we're going to make those seed bead arches. So I'm going to pick up 6. 1. My poor needle is bent all to heavens. Lord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I've got my 6 seed beads. I'm coming out of this bead here, and I'm going to come right back through the same bead again to make that arch of beads over the pearl. Now I'm going to continue through 2 pearls. So 1 and 2. You just have to be a little careful as you pull your thread through on this round, if you choose to start it this way, to make sure that your threads don't get caught anywhere. So now 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, the bead I'm coming out of here, I'm going to come right back through the same bead again to make that circle. And then I'm going to come through 2 more pearls. So 1. And again, you have to make sure you don't get any threads caught. So if you choose to start it this way, just take your time. Okay, and then I hope you guessed it correctly. We're going to put 6 11s here and then 6 11s here. Alright, so you can see I added my seed beads basically in the 4 corners where there's not a box. And I've gone ahead and I stepped up through the first 4 beads that I added. This is where we're going to be using these little 3mm pearls. So we pick up 2 3s. Okay. My thread is coming out here, so I'll come to this next set of 6 and go through just those middle 2 beads there. And then just gonna go ahead and get all my little pearls out here. And then 2 pearls. These are my little 3mm. Come to my next set of 6 over here and go through those middle 2 beads. Two pearls. Come to this next set of 6 and go through the middle 2 beads. And one last time, 2 pearls, and come across to this next set of 6 and go through those middle 2. This is going to be where we started the step with. We're going to slide that Rivoli in face down, pull those threads tight, and then you would have your center put in. And then it would just be stitching to the outside and doing the rest of the pendant. So here are the 4 completed samples of the Interstellar pendant. So this is the brown made with the velvet brown pearls, the pink made with the elderberry pearls, the blue made with the iridescent dark blue pearls, and the green made with the scarabus green pearls. So I do have kits available for all of these. And I did want to show you really quickly, if you'll notice, I'm using a new smaller bead tray. This is the No More Oops bead tray. You can find it at lakesidejewelry.etsy.com. It's a new mini version, and with it she actually puts a topper, so that way if you put it on your bead board, you know, you won't lose your beads. So that's pretty cool. And if you go to the lakesidejewelry.etsy.com and in the comment box use the comment Kelly Tray, she sends you a free pattern that's really nice. In my video today, I'm also using a Bead Wrangler bead board. You can find it at thebeadwrangler.com, and Ree's really great. She'll put your name on it, whatever you want. So that is the Interstellar pendant. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make the Interstellar pendant. I do have the 4 color kits that I showed you today, as well as a written step-by-step pattern available on my website, which is offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. Now, if you enjoyed today's project, please go back and check out the previous 2 weeks' projects, which was the Interstellar bracelet and the Interstellar ring. While you're there, make sure to hit that big red subscribe button to keep keep up to date on all of our new release videos. I hope you'll come back and watch next week's video on Must Know Monday when we talk about how to make a beautiful cross that can be made into a pendant. It can be made into like an accessory to hang off of your rearview mirror in your car. It can be made into an ornament. It'll have lots of options, but it really kind of goes along with what we've been doing the last few weeks with this Interstellar set. So I hope you guys have a fabulous week, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.